Welcome. My name is Atanas from Marcus Education Center. Today we are going to learn together the length measurements. And in this lesson, we will describe the meaning. We will try to explain the meaning of length, the instruments used for measuring length, the units of length, how to convert the units of length, addition and subtraction of units of length, and we will apply the units of length by calculating or finding out the perimeter of any shape. Welcome once again. What is length? Suppose that you are having a house and a class. You are having your home and your class, your school. You are having a person and another person. What is length? The length is the distance between the first person and the second one. The length is the distance. How long is the person A to person B? What is the distance between the first person and the second person? So that distance that we are talking about here is what you call the length. In other words, the length is the distance between 2 points, point A and point B. If we don't use these examples of houses, these examples of people, so the distance between one point and another point is what you call the length. So in this lesson, we will measure this length, or we measure the distance between two objects, 2 points, 2 people, using the units of length, using some instruments, using conversion. We will try now to gauge the relationship between one unit to another one. Now, there are many instruments that we use when you are measuring the length. The commonly used ones are the next one. The first one, you know this one, you can name it. It is a ruler. The next one, you have learned it in science when we were talking about the masonry tools. It is a tape measure. The next one, you can name it. This is a yardstick. The last one, as you see, it is what you call the micrometer screw gauge. All these instruments are used to measure the distance between 2 points. All these instruments are used to measure the distance between 2 objects, distance between 2 people, the distance between your home and the class, the distance between your home and the church. They are used to measure the height, how tall you are. They are also used to measure, for example, the perimeter, as we said in introduction. So all these instruments are used to measure the length or the distance between 2 points. Now we are going to describe one by one. What is the importance of the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one? Let's start with the first one, which is a micrometer screw gauge. As you see on this one, it is having many parts, but the essential one is to know where we put the object that we are measuring. For example, here you see this red color. This red color is the object that you are measuring. As you see, this is a very small object. So we want to know what is the thickness, what is the what is the width of something. We want to know how long is an object. So because it is very small and we cannot use a very big instrument, that is why we choose the micrometer screw gauge. Here we put what? We put the object to measure, and then you see they have the scale. You have also the numbers there. So when you put the object that you are measuring here, The instrument will tell you how thick is something, it will tell you how thin is something, or it will tell you the width of something. So this instrument is called the micrometer screw gauge. As an information, micro means very small. That is why you call it micrometer screw gauge, because it is used to measure the small or the short distances. So micrometer screw gauge is used for measuring very small distances, such as the diameter of a pin. I think you know a pin. A pin is very small. So you cannot use a ruler when you want to measure the distance between the first or the two ends of a pin. So it is also used to measure the thickness of a paper. You can hold the paper in your hands. You see that a paper is very thick. It is the width, or it is small, it is very small. It is the width of a paper is very small. That is why we have to choose appropriate instruments that we will use if we want to know the exact measurements of the thickness. So a micrometer screw gauge is used for measuring very small distances. Not this. If they ask you what can we measure using a micrometer screw gauge, because micrometer means very small, you are also going to choose very small distances, like a diameter of a pin, like what, like a thickness of a paper. Apart from this, objects that you can measure using using the micrometer screw gauge, there are others, namely we can also measure, as you see, you can measure, for example, the diameter of a small grain, a soya grain, a bean grain. Or let's take, for example, the grain of rice. If you want to know the diameter of a grain of rice, you will use a micrometer screw gauge. It is very important here to know this. Let's continue with the next instrument. The next instrument is a ruler. I think all of you can tell the importance of a ruler. You know what you use it for in the classroom. You can tell it. For example, a ruler is used to measure the length of a line. You also use it to underline your titles when you are writing. For a proper handwriting, you have to underline the titles. So use a ruler. Now, a ruler is used to measure the short distances, like the length of a line in a book, as we were saying. You can also use it to measure the length of a table. You know, you have a table in your classroom, you have a table at home. You cannot, you can be, you can want to measure the distance between the extremities of the table, or the distance between the first point of a table and the last one, or you want to measure the length of your table or the height of your table. We use what? A ruler. You can also use to measure, for example, the length of a classroom. You see, the ruler is very important. You can also use it to measure the height of a door. For example, here we are measuring the line in our book. For example, if you want to measure the line of a book, how do we do it? If you want to measure the length of a line in a book, sorry, how do we do it? You have a line here which is in red, and then for you to measure it, you have to put a ruler on the line in a way that the first point, which is the point number A, as you see here, for example, let's call it A, and this is the point B. So you have to make sure that the point which is marked A is put exactly at 0. And then you record. What did you record? You have to record the number that you get at the last point. As you can see it here, the distance between the point A and the point B of our line is 4 centimeters. If this one is in centimeters, they can be 4 millimeters depending on the kind of ruler that you are using. But generally, you see that we are measuring from 0 to 4. So the length is 4, depending on the units that you are using. You can have another example. For example, you want to know the length or the distance between the first point, the first the first end of a pencil, and the second one. You come with your ruler and then you measure it. As you see, when we measure, we put exactly the ruler, the pencil at 0, and then we record the last points. So this ruler is graduated or scaled in centimeters. Who can tell now the length of this pencil? You have to record from 0. Now you name 1, 2, 3 until you get to the last point of what you are measuring. Wow. So the length here of our pencil is 14 centimeters. You see, you can now measure the length of a classroom, the length of a table. You can measure the length of a line in your book. You can also measure any short distance using what? Using a ruler. The next one is what you call the yardstick. This yardstick is normally used in it is a flat wooden board which has markings at regular intervals or regular distances, and it is used for measuring here it is not, it is used not to measure long but to measure small length. You can also use it to measure long distances depending on the length of a yardstick. So here let's put them all there, because we can use it for measuring the long length or the short length depending on the length of the yardstick that you are using. It can be used to measure the long and the short length. For example, you see that this yardstick is made of many parts. This is the first part, the second part, the third part, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, and so on. You can put as many as possible. So as you see, you can use to measure the long distances and the short distances. Suppose that this first part is 1 meter, the second one is another meter, another meter, another meter. As you see here, you can measure a long distance. You can also measure short distance depending on what you want to measure. So the yardstick is used for measuring the long as well as short distances. As we said, it is a wooden board with markings at regular intervals. Let's go to the next one. The next one is what you call a tape measure. A tape measure is used for measuring longer distances like the length of a field, the height of a person, the length of a cloth, the length of a door. All of them can be measured using what you call the tape measure. The tape measure is also used in masonry to measure the length of the door, the length of a table, the length of a house when they are building the house and so on. So let's have an example. Here you can use a tape measure when measuring the height of a person. You can use it when you're measuring your height. Okay, next time when they ask you, what is your height? How taller are you? You have to take a tape measure and try to measure your height. Or you can just work with your friend. He measures or she measures your height and you do the same. You can also use it to measure, for example, the width of a door or the height of a door. You can also use it, for example, you are measuring the size or the diameter, the circumference of your body. If you want to know the size of the clothes that you will make for yourself, you see that when your mom, your father are making some clothes for you, they first take your measurements. So they use what? They use a tape measure. You can also here you can also describe or explain what are the units. We're saying that we measure, but what are the units that we use when you are measuring the length? We don't use any unit that we want. You cannot use the units that we use when you are measuring the capacity, when you are measuring the mass. Here we are talking about the length. What are the units of length? As you see, we have standard units, we have also non-standard units. For non-standard units, you can have, for example, the hand span, the palm, the digit, the cubit, and so on, the pace, the foot span, the arm span. But here we are not talking about the non-standard one, but we are talking about the standard units. Now, the standard units of length measurement is what you call the meter. And the meter is denoted M. It is denoted by M. Here we have the letter M. And remember that they are always written starting with a small letter, not capital letters. When we write capital letters, we are just meaning other thing. So here we write them using the small letters. Now, when we use prefixes, we can have other units of length. The other units of length are kilometers, hectometers, decameters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. Here down you will have them, but I want you get that one in your head. You start now memorizing them because we'll be using them throughout this lesson. The standard unit of length measurement is the meter, but we also have other meters. So how do we get those? We have other units, not meters. We have other units. But how do we get those other units? We use what we call the prefixes. The prefixes are kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, and mil. As for your information, you must know that when you say kilo, kilo means what? Times 1,000. Hecto, it is the second. Hecto means what? Times 100. Deca means times what? 10. And the meter, as we said, means what? Times 1. Deci means times 1 out of 10 or 1/10. Centi means times 1 out of 100. So this is equal to 0.1. This is 0.01. And then mil means what? 1 out of 1,000. That is why when you know this, you will be able to convert. For example, even if we talk about it, when you want to convert the meters to kilometer, you take what you are given times 1,000. When you are converting meters into decameter, you take what you are given. For example, if you are given 5 times what? 10. Now, these are what you call the prefixes that we use to write the other units of length measurements. So the units of length measurements are kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, which is the standard units, decimeters, centimeters, and the millimeters. All of these are having symbols. Kilometers means kilometers. Then hectometers is denoted by HM. Decameters is denoted by DMA. Meters is denoted by M. Decimeters are denoted by DM. You have to differentiate them from decameters. For decameters, it is DAM, and decimeters is DM. Centimeters is CM, and then millimeters is double M. We will be using these symbols when we will be drawing the conversion table or for the further learning. Apart from this, you can have what you call now, conversion of units. How do you convert? We are converting, or we are changing from one unit to another one. You may have small or short distances. For short distances, you are not going to use kilometers. We are not going to use hectometers, but maybe you can use what? You can use millimeters. Millimeters are used to write the short distances, while kilometers are used to write the long distances. From that, you have to know that kilometer is the biggest and millimeter is the smallest. So we write the conversion table starting from the biggest unit to the smallest unit. Here we are starting from kilometer to millimeter. Kilometer is bigger or is larger than hectometer. Hectometer is larger than decameter. Decameter is larger than meter. Meter is larger than decimeter. Decimeter is larger than centimeter, and centimeter is larger than millimeter. So from this side to the next one, we are moving from the biggest to the smallest, and from meter to kilometer, we are moving from smallest to the biggest. Now let's start converting. How do you convert now? In this case, we'll be using 3 or 4 examples. The first example is an example in which we'll convert from the larger unit to the smaller units. Suppose that you are given 2 kilometers to convert them into meters. You are given, for example, 15 hectometers to convert them into millimeters. So the question is, how many meters are there in 2 kilometers? As you see, all digits in a number has values. The value of 2 is, you can tell the value of 2, it is 1 digit. The value of 2 is ones. In the next number, you have 15. The value of 5 is ones. The value of 1 is tens. So all ones are put under the given units. Here we are given 2 kilometers, we come here and then we fix, or we put 2 under kilometers. And remember that you are converting kilometers into meters. From kilometer, as we said before, we said that kilometer means times 1,000. How many zeros? We have 3 zeros. So we add 3 zeros, or we add zeros until we get to the asked unit. The asked unit is meters. So 2 kilometers are equal to how many meters? You can tell it. They are equal to 2,000 meters. You are also given 15 hectometer. The ones which is 5 is put under the given units. And then you see that 1 must be put here because it is tens. And then we are converting it into millimeters. Where is millimeters? Wow, millimeters is here. So we fill in zeros until we get to the asked units. Wow. Here we have added 5 zeros. So 15 hectometers is equal to 1,500,000 millimeters. 1,500,000 millimeters. As a reminder, you must keep in your mind that when you are converting from larger unit to smaller units, always add zeros. Always add zeros. After filling in the table, start adding zeros. That is the first case. Now, what do we do when you are converting uh, from smaller unit to the larger unit? For example, you are given an example. You are given 5 millimeter and they want you to convert it into meters. The given units are millimeters. You fill in with the 5 and then you fill in with the zeros because you don't have another digits that you can fill. You fill in with the zeros until you get to the asked unit. The asked unit is meters. So another thing here, you cannot write 0005 as an answer because the zeros that you have there are meaningless. You make them meaningful, you make them matter when you put a decimal point. So we put a decimal point under the asked units. So 5 millimeter are equal to 0.005 meters. You can also be given, for example, what are 3,256 centimeters? You convert them into hectometers. As I said before, this 6 is the ones. The value of 6 is ones. So all ones are put under the given unit. The given unit is centimeters, so you put what? You put 6. And then you fill in other digits as they are written in the number. Here we're converting into hectometers. So before you go to hectometers, let's just convert it into meters. And we check what we have, or decameters. So when they ask you to change it or to convert it into decameters, you simply add a decimal point here because under decameters you have a counting digit or a counting number, which is 3. Here we are not adding zeros because we are having counting numbers. We simply put a decimal point under the asked unit. So 3,256 centimeters are equal to 3.256 decameters. That was the second case. We are converting from smaller units to the larger units. Now, what if now they give you decimal numbers? You are given, for example, 2.5 decameters, and they want you to convert it into millimeters, for example, or decimeters. This decimal point is always put under the given unit. The given unit is decameters. You come with your decimal point and then you put there. And then you will not leave decameters without putting a digit. You put 2 there. 2.5. You fill in 5 because 5 is 10th. It is put after the decimal point. And then when you are converting to the decimeter, you see that decimeter is here. And then you cannot keep this decimal point because for you to convert, what you do, you only move the decimal point. You move the decimal point to the asked unit. So you will move this decimal point to the asked unit and then you put the decimal point here. And what next? Because under decimeter there is nothing, you are going to add what? You're going to add 0. And then you will see that this one is equal to 250 decimeters. You can have another example. Remember that we don't write your answer with a decimal point because here the decimal point, after the decimal point there is nothing. So that is why we are not putting the decimal point there. You can have another example when you are given, for example, 0.01 centimeter, and you want to convert it into hectometer. It is simple. Centimeter is here, we put the decimal point here. This is 0, 0, 1. Maybe there's another thing here. And then you fill in with zeros until you get to the asked units. And remember that this point must be moved to the asked units. And then here we put in zeros, and then these remaining gaps will be filled in with zeros. So 0.01 centimeters is equal to 0.0000001 hectometers. As I was saying, this one is equal to this, but because you are adding many zeros, that is why here you say that millimeter is smaller than hectometer, and hectometer is bigger than millimeter. I think this is all about converting the units of length measurements. So make sure when they give you a question, when they give you smaller or the short distances to measure them, you measure them, but you can also convert them to the larger unit. Remember also that measurement is applied in everyday life. For example, you will be a mason, you can be, for example, a technician, you can be a road builder, you can be an engineer, you can be whatever you will be. You will need these units, and you will need to know how we convert them from one unit to another one. Let's move on. Let's move on with our lessons, and we go to addition. Addition. How do we add? What do we do? Now, for addition of length measurements, the only thing that you must know is this. When the units are different, you always convert them before you add them. But when they are not different, you don't need to convert them. For example, you are given you are given 2 kilometers. You are given 2 kilometers plus 2 kilometers. Simply because the units are the same, you only arrange them vertically, and then you start adding them, and then you get 4. Here it is 4 kilometers. But what if now you are given the different units? For example, you are given 15 meters plus 300 centimeters. What do you do? For example, you are requested to give the answer into decameters. As you see, the units are different. You cannot add meters to centimeters to get decameters. So what do you need? You need to know that you must convert before you start working. So what is that conversion? As we said, simply draw the conversion table and fill in with your units. This is, for example, let's start with decameters. These are meters, decimeters, and the centimeters, maybe millimeters here. And then you have 15 meters plus 300 centimeters. 300 centimeters. You must convert this into the given unit, the asked unit, sorry. And then here it is possible that you add zeros because the zeros are meaningless there. And then you add 0, 0, 8, 1. Remember what you have here. Here you have also converted. Because you have meters, you must convert it into decameters. Here we have centimeters, we must convert it into decameters. And when you add, remember to bring down this decimal point. So the answer is 1.8. If you don't convert, you will not have the correct answer because you cannot add meters to centimeters. So when the units are different, please first convert them. There is another example that I want you focus on. What do you do when you are given 2 kilometers? My pencil is not 2. Yes, you are given 2 kilometers plus no, not 2 kilometers plus. You are given 2 kilometers. For example, you are given 2 kilometers, and then yes, you can now fill it fill with what you want. But here you have 30 2 kilometers and 36 decameters. 36 decameters plus, for example, 3 kilometers 9 decameters are equal to how many centimeters, for example. Now here what you have to know is that when they write this, you must know that 2 kilometers 36 decameters is the same as writing 2.36 kilometers. I will show you that. Let's draw the conversion table. In our conversion table, we fill in with kilometers, hectometers, decameters, and remember that they want the answer in centimeters, but let's make it short. We ask it in meters. Here we put what? Meters. And then they have given us 2 kilometers, 36.63 decameters. To mean there is a decimal point. We have 3 and 9 decameters. To mean there I have 0. And then we add after. This is 5. And then here we take away, we carry 1. And then here it is 4. This is 5 with our decimal point. And then because they have asked us to put the answer in meters, what are we going to do? We have to move this decimal point to the asked unit, which is meters, and then there we fill in with zeros. So 2 kilometer 36 decameter, here it is decameter, 36 decameter plus 3 kilometers and 9 decameters are equal to 5,450 meters. Now when you are subtracting, we use the same methods, because subtracting is the same as adding. The difference is that in subtracting we add, we are increasing the number, but in subtracting we are decreasing the number. Subtracting will be we just subtract using the same methods that you have used before. Let's have an example. When you have 45 meters minus 12 or 20 meters, you simply arrange this one vertically, and then you subtract. This is 5, this is 2. Now 45 meters minus 20 meters is equal to 25 meters. But what do we do when you are given now the different units? For example, you are given 3.5 hectometer minus 10 decameter. You cannot do it without converting. Here we have to put the answer, for example, in kilometer. What do? We draw the conversion tables. We have done it before. And then in our conversion table, we fill in with the given units, decameter, this is hectometer, and then we have kilometer. So we are given 3.5 hectometer. We are also given 10 decimeter. And then remember that we have to convert it into kilometer, or we give the answer in kilometer. So we must convert this one in kilometer. We delete this decimal point, and then you convert this one in kilometer with a decimal point. Then we subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 0 minus 0 is 0, but don't forget your decimal point. So 3.5 hectometer minus 10 decameter is equal to 0.25 kilometer. So addition and subtraction are done in the same way, but you must keep in your mind that before you add, before you convert, you check if all units are the same, or if you're having the same units, it will be very simple. But if the units are not the same, please convert before adding or before subtracting. I think you get it. And we are going to apply the units of length measurements by calculating or finding the perimeter. What is perimeter? The perimeter is the distance around a shape, the distance around the table, the distance around the blackboard, the distance around your floor in the house, the distance around your box, the distance around your book. So the perimeter of a shape is the distance around the shape. So we are going to apply uh, the units of length measurements, addition and subtraction of units of length measurements, converting length, the units of length measurements by finding the perimeter of any kind of shape. Remember that in our mathematics before, there is also another lesson on the shapes. So we are going to use perimeter as an application of length measurements, but we will also learn perimeter when we be talking about the 2D shapes. So let's have examples. Let's start with a common shape that we know. You can tell the name of the shape. Wow, you know that this is a rectangle. Now, a rectangle has measurements, as we say. Here it is 12 meters. There we have 8 meters. The most important thing that you must know here on a rectangle, we say that this is a rectangle. Let me write it for your clear understanding. Rectangle. So this side is equal to this side. So the opposite side are always equal. To mean here we have also 12 meters. This side is opposite to this. To mean they are also equal. Here you have 8 meters. Now for the rectangle, the perimeter is equal to the side plus side plus side plus side. Generally, when we are finding the perimeter of any shape, you add all the sides. We add sides. If a shape has 5 sides, we have the length of those 5 sides. But for a rectangle, the rectangle has 4 sides. Now, the 2 sides are equal. Here we are not talking about the formula to find the perimeter, but as your information, you must know that for a rectangle, the perimeter is equal to the length plus width, means what? This side plus this. Because the two opposite ones are equal, we multiply by 2. Now, for that shape, you must know that here the perimeter of our shape will be equal to 12 meters plus 8 meters plus 12 meters plus 8 meters. This is our perimeter, which is equal, you can just calculate it. You can calculate and then you tell me the answer. Wow, so this is 20, and then 12 plus 8 is also 20. 20 plus 20 is 40 meters. As we said it before, perimeter can also be equal to length plus width times what? 2, which is 12 plus 8 times 2, and then it is 12 plus 8 is 20 plus times 2 is 40 meters. So to find the perimeter of a rectangle, please add all the sides. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, please add all the sides. And then the next shape that we are going to talk about is, you normally know it, it is a, you can tell the name. So it is a triangle. A triangle, as the name explains, the triangle, tri means 3. Angle, you know, the angle is the intersection between two lines, but we'll talk about it. So for our rectangle, this is a this is a triangle. This is a triangle with 3 sides. So let's assume that uh, our triangle has these sides. We have 10 centimeter of the height, 13 centimeter, and 9 centimeter. As we said it before, to find the perimeter of any shape, make the side make the sides added. Add all the sides depending on the number of sides that you have. Here we have a triangle. We have 10 centimeters plus 13 centimeters plus 9 centimeters, and then it is equal to 10 times plus 13 is 23. 23 plus 9 is 32 centimeters. You see that finding the perimeter, we are applying the addition subtraction of the length measurement units. Let's go to the next one. You normally know this one. You know that it is what? It is a square. Now for a square, we have one side which is 5 millimeters. So for a square, you must know that all the sides are equal. The sides is equal to this, is equal to this, is equal to this one. So if all of them are equal, you must know that this is also 5 millimeter, this is 5 millimeter, this is 5 millimeter. For you can also find the perimeter of this shape by adding all the sides. Side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4. But because it is a square, you must know that the perimeter of a square is side times what? Times 4, because all the sides are equal. So here, the perimeter is equal to 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is 20 millimeter. When you multiply the side by 4, we'll get also 20 millimeter. So you can easily find the perimeter of any shape using the length measurement units. So the last application today will be this. How can you find the perimeter of this irregular shape? As you see, this is 15 meters, the first side. The second side is 1,500 millimeters. Another one is 846 centimeters. The next one is 72 decimeters. The next one is 76 decimeters. The last one is 1,000 millimeters. And I think from your point of view, you have seen that the units are different. The units are different. So what do we do when we are adding, when we are subtracting the length measurements units which are different? When they are different, you can recall. So for us to be able to add, as we said, the perimeter is side plus side. How many sides do we have? 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides. It is side plus side plus side plus side plus side plus side. We add side 6 times. Now, our perimeter will be found by adding all the sides, but you must know that you cannot do it without converting them. You first convert your units. Let's draw the conversion table. There we have millimeter, we have a centimeter, we have a decimeter, we have also meter, we have also decameter, and so on. So the first one is 15 meters. 15 meters. The next one is 1,500. 1,500. The next one is 846. 6 is put here under centimeters. 846. The next one is 72 decimeters. 72 decimeters. The next one is 76 decimeters. 76 decimeters. The next one is 1,000 millimeters. Remember that don't fill in this table starting with the first digit. You always start with the last unit, which is ones. Fill in with ones, and then you fill in with other digits as they follow each other using their place values. Here, let me add something here. Let's give the answer in meters. For example, we want to give the perimeter of our shape in meters, but we are given different units. After filling in these digits or the numbers, but after converting, we are converting all the units into meters. We put the decimal point under meters. It will be very simple because we are now adding the decimals. And remember what we said about decimals. The decimal point must be arranged vertically. And here you can add. You simply add. This is 0. This is 6. 5 plus 4 is 9. Plus 1 is 11. Plus 6 is 17. You write 7. Then you keep 1 here. 1 plus 5 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Plus 8 is 15. Plus 7 is 23. Plus 7 is 40. Plus 1 is 41. Don't forget the decimal point. You keep 1 here. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. You remember to check. You have to check if your answer is correct. Here let's fill in with the zeros to make it accurate, to add accurately. This is 0, 0. We have only 6, 6. 5 plus 4 is 9. Plus 1 is 11. Plus 6 is 7. Is 17. You write 7, then you keep 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Plus 8 is 15. Plus 7 is 22. Plus 7 is 29. Plus 1 is here you don't have to keep 1 only, you have to keep 2. That is why I told you that you must always repeat and you check if your answer is correct. 1 plus 5 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Plus 8 is 15. Plus 7 is 22. Plus 7 is 29. Plus 1 is 30. You repeat it. 1, 6, 7, 15, 22, 29, 30. Here it is not 1, but it is 0. And then here you keep what? You keep 3. I was trying to show you that when you're having a long addition or the long subtraction, you must verify if the answer you are getting is correct or wrong. Here 3 plus 1 will be not 2, but 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. Now your answer is 440.5. 760 meters, or 40 meters and then 760 millimeters. Now, for your information, as we said, you must also add or subtract in the conversion table for you to easy your work, or to be sure that the answer that you are getting is correct. In this lesson, we have talked about the meaning of length. We have described or explained the units of length measurements, the instruments that we use when you are measuring. We have added and subtracted the units of length measurements. We have also talked about the perimeter. How can you find the perimeter of shapes? We have also talked about the standard and non-standard units. After watching this video, I want you to watch it again. You watch it again, and then after, you will do your exercises, which is found in your textbooks. Don't hesitate to call the teacher or to write for further information. Thank you very much, and God bless you.